Josh Stevens, how are you today?
MZ, Michael Zwerling, fantastic. And I hear you're dialing up something. You making a dial-up connection to the internet?
I'm trying to call Jaunty, our esteemed digital human, but that's okay. I'm going to talk to Dave Michaels. Hi, Dave Michaels.
Good morning, MZ. How are you?
Fine.
That is great to hear. That's fantastic, MC. I understand you have a special guest coming up, so I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to take 1 minute to let you know that I'm going to be out at the Dave Cave today until 2 p.m., just like every Saturday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Here's the big news, though, MZ. We finally have the healthy weight loss pack. Summer's just around the corner. If losing a few pounds is something that you want to do, get on the healthy weight loss pack. We finally have these in stock. I don't know for how long, though. We have about 6, 7, maybe a little bit more than that, but definitely just a handful, a little more than a handful. So get down here today. The Healthy Weight Loss Pack is just one of the things that's on sale at the Dave Cave. Now, we also have the Bone and Joint Pack, the Blood Sugar Pack, the Digestion Pack, and, of course, the Brain and Heart Pack. All of those will be on sale. I just have to do a little MacGyvering and a little shuffling here and there. But at the end of the day, all of those will be on sale when you stop by the Dave Cave. I'll be out there until 2 p.m. today. Every one of these is a 1-month supply of the 90 essential nutrients, and every single one of those Healthy Start packs is on sale today. You're not going to walk out with all of it just in one box. I have to do a little, like I said, a little MacGyvering and a little shuffling, but you can get all of those on sale today, MC.
Wow!
Yeah.
I mean, it's hardly ever on sale.
I can't believe it. But today until 2 p.m., again, I have to be a little creative with how we put these things together, but you can get all of those on sale today at the Dave Cave until 2 p.m.
Well, I mean, that's extremely exciting, Dave Michaels.
And if you're listening to this as a replay, call 218-KSCO to find out the latest scoop. That's 218-KSCO to find out the latest deal and if you can save some money.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much. See you out there, and maybe we'll get an update next hour.
We got to thank you, too.
We have to thank who, too?
We have to thank Anna Marie. Or Annette in Watsonville, because she left Dave Michaels and I and you.
Her name was Annette Fox. She's a big fan of KSCO and Marina, and she wants to say hello to you, MZ, and I think she has a crush on probably both of you.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Don't tell Holly.
You might have done a terrible thing, Dave Michaels. I say, but anyhow, gee, thank you.
You got them, right, MZ?
I got something. I'm not
a bunch
here.
of kisses on your desk in your office?
Now?
Yeah.
I didn't go to the office because I'm always late getting to the radio station, with seconds to spare. But I will make it a point during the break to go into my office and see what's there for me from Annette.
Yep.
Or Anna Marie. Or
it's
whatever.
Delicious.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So with that, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. A brighter day is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, on KSCO Radio.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday special, hour number 1 thereof. Poor old MZ is here at the control, but the main control is under the stewardship of Josh Stevens and his orchestra, who always does an amazing job. Stay with us for the next 2 hours. I think you're going to be real happy you did.
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
How often do we play the Saturday special fanfare music opening? We don't do it very often, but we have an excellent reason to do it today, because Our guest is our good friend and supporter, Michael Harrison. Michael!
I love that opening. It makes me feel like Moses coming down from the mountain. It makes me feel like Charlton Heston coming down from the mountain with the tablets, you know, and that trill or whatever they call it, where it goes. That's the way introductions should be created.
I drank some coffee. I spoke with you earlier today.
Yeah.
And you were you were so animated, and I was so slow that I drank an extra large cup of coffee.
So you sound about right. You sound like you're in your normal pace.
I'm getting up there because I gotta keep up with you. Okay, this is going to be a show where we are going to see a different side of you.
Of me.
Now,
that's right.
You have been a host and a guest many times on KSCO over the last 30 years that you and I have been good buddies.
My second home.
Amen. Mm-hmm. And so our audience has gotten to know you, but they have not gotten to know this side of you that we're going to talk about today. Okay? Now, I have a song that's almost stuck in my head. There are, do you like it when songs get stuck in your head? It must be that you like the song, that you listen to it enough that it gets stuck in your head, right?
Sometimes a song, they call that an earworm. And you could get a song stuck in your head immediately for the first time you hear it.
That's never happened to me.
No? Well,
no, but
you didn't concentrate on it. You have to focus, you know. You have to focus.
Well, I have done that in the last few hours on your song. Yes, Michael Harrison has a song. And it's part of a group called Gunner Road.
Gun Hill Road.
Oh, God dang. I was thinking of Gunner, what's his name? Nelson. Yeah, Gun Hill, not Gunner.
There's a big difference between a gun hill and a gunner.
Just like there's a big difference between eminal rights and eminal welfare.
Correct.
And we are going to get into that in great detail today. See, that's nothing. Every day I learn more new things about you, Michael. And I've known you long enough that I shouldn't be discovering new things because I should know you well enough. But it never ceases to amaze me how multidimensional a human being you are.
Oh my goodness, you're embarrassing me.
But it's true. But
15 of my 10 million sides are blushing.
I never would have guessed that you were I'm
a member of a rock band, but not a local rock band that we made in my garage. I have joined at this stage in my life full membership in one of the longest running rock bands, a legitimate rock band, 4 hit albums to their credit, number of songs that have been played on the radio, a major iconic hit single from the early 70s. I am a member of a rock band at this point in my life. Can you imagine how crazy that is?
I think it's wonderful, and my hat's off to, and I salute you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, how did that happen? And by the way, what is the name Gun Hill? Where did that come from?
There's a very, very, very iconic, famous boulevard in the Bronx, in New York, called Gun Hill Road. And everybody that lives in New York, they know Gun Hill Road the same way they know the Bowery or Flatbush Avenue or Broadway or the Grand Concourse. It's just a famous, famous street in the Bronx in New York. And a group of kids I call them kids because they were so young, back in the late 60s, a fellow by the name of Steve Goldrich and Glenn Leopold. They were the founders of a group called Gun Hill Road. They came from Westchester, but they hung out in the Bronx a lot, and they wanted to sound, streety and New Yorky. And so they named the group Gun Hill Road. There subsequently has been a movie called Gun Hill Road. I think there's a heavy metal band out there somewhere that called themselves Gun Hill Road, not to be confused with this band, which is the real deal. And they spell it Gun Hill, one word. The street is spelled 3 words. So that's where it comes from. It comes from the name of a street in the Bronx.
Okay.
And that's how the name
was
came about.
many years ago, back
Late
when
60s.
you were a music disc jockey
Yeah.
on a number of big stations throughout the United States.
Back in the early 70s, I was the youngest full-time morning host on New York radio. I hosted the morning show on a legendary station, a station that to this day I say, wow, I can't believe I actually was on that station. One of the most storied, colorful, consequential radio stations in history. And it no longer exists. It was called WNEW-FM. It was owned by Metro Media.
Wow. And William B. Williams was on that station, I think.
William B. Williams was on WNEW-AM.
Oh.
Now, WNEW-AM was a historic station that goes all the way back to the days of Dinah Shore and you know, the Jack Benny, the original, or the great golden age of radio. And then they had the FM, and in the late 60s, when the FCC made a rule that you have to come up with original programming on your FM was considered a throwaway. It was lower than the internet. When people started broadcasting on the internet in 1995 and 1997, that's not real radio. Well, that's the way FM was. So they put a bunch of DJs that were renegades from Top 40 on there, people like Scott Muni from WABC, Roscoe from one of the African-American stations, Allison Steele, one of the first female DJs, Jonathan Schwartz, the son of Arthur Schwartz, who wrote Dancing in the Dark, a very intellectual, articulate individual. And they started playing rock records, but they didn't have any commercials, and they didn't have ratings, and they didn't have anything to lose. So they started being creative, and they played album sides and long tracks and underground music, and it turned into a format that, of course, led to today's classic rock. And I was part of that movement, and each DJ played their own selection. It wasn't handed down from a consultant or a central...
Free form, right?
It was free form, yeah. But free form was kind of an exaggeration. The station had a sound. We all were in cahoots with each other in terms of the stationality, but it was spontaneous, it was organic, and each DJ brought their own interpretation of the rock culture. They were gurus, curators, and I was doing that. And that was when I became familiar with Gun Hill Road. Gun Hill Road had 2 albums in the early 70s, and they had the gigantic hit single, Back When My Hair Was Short, which to this day is a great song. And I used to play them all the time. They had one song called 42nd Street that I think to this day is one of the greatest rock songs ever recorded. And I played it every morning because it just felt like New York. And they're named after another iconic boulevard, 42nd Street, New York.
Yeah.
And I became friendly with the band. And to make a very long story short, because it's a 50-some-odd year story, they got back together 7 years ago and made an album called Every 40 Years. And it was a hit. They had a hit album. It was played on stations around the country. Hits are measured differently today than they were back, 20, 30 years ago when there was a very different kind of scene. And they are in business. And then they went back into the studio during the pandemic year, 2020, to record another album, and I got involved with it. And I wound up writing a song and joining the group. A new member came in. We're now a 5-man band. It's Steve Goldrich, Paul Reich, Glenn Leopold. Brian Coonan is one of the new members, and me. Brian Coonan had a lot of time on his hands because he's a major Broadway musician in the orchestras on Broadway.
So
and Broadway's closed.
Yeah.
So we wound up with this incredible arranger and singer and musician, and the album is called What Year Is This? It was made under the conditions of Zoom and remote broadcasting and remote communications. And we did a redo of Back When My Hair Was Short called Back When We Used to Hug, which has a video on YouTube, and it's a lot of fun. I make a cameo in it singing. And, of course, we did I Know You're Real, which is the song about animal welfare that I wrote. And it's starting to go viral. I mean, it's people love the message of communication, of kindness, of being real, of respecting all life, of not being cruel to animals, not being cruel to humans, having an open mind about cosmic consciousness and connectedness, sentience. What is consciousness? I mean, it gets really heavy. And we made a video that accompanies it. And at this point, it's only been up a few weeks, but now it's getting over 1,000 new views a day. And because people are reading into it what they feel either about animals or even deeper about God. So I'm sitting on top of something that is very exciting and reflects, when you said before you were kidding around a little bit, other parts of my personality. This song reflects a lot of the things that I think about. And I think about life on other planets. I think about when I look at animals, what's it like to be a bird? What's it like to be a horse? What's it like to be a dog? How do they see the world? How deep are their feelings? Are they emotional? Do they have love? I mean, you know, when you look into the eyes of an animal, you're looking into the eyes of the universe. You're looking, it's not just an object. It's not a robot. It's, again, here's this magic word. It's real. So the title of the song, I Know You're Real. I know that you have feelings. I know that you're looking at me and that your consciousness is a universe unto you. And I respect that. And I want to touch you. I want to feel you. I want to communicate with you. I want to be connected with you. That's what I'm about.
Now, here's what I have to know, okay? Clearly, you wrote the lyrics to this. Did you also write the music?
I lent a little bit of input to the music. The music is the result of the collaboration of Steve Goldrich and Paul Reich, who also perform on it, sing on it, and play instruments on it.
There are two versions of I Know You Are Real.
Right.
You do the spoken version.
Correct.
And who is it? Reich does the
No,
singing?
no, the singing is Brian Coonan.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And Brian sings a little bit on the spoken version. There's a couple of times he has a solo drop-in line. And some people think it's me because they think I'm turning, and singing. But no, it's him. And he's really a fabulous, multifaceted musician who, he's one of these kinds of guys that is all talent and no ego. He's got no ego whatsoever.
Wow, you don't find many of them around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I respect the hell out of this guy. And here's what's so beautiful. We've become friends, and he and I've never met in person. I haven't seen Goldrich, Reich, Leopold, Coonan. I haven't seen these guys in person for over a year and a half, and I've never met Brian.
But you know what they look like because of Zoom.
Well, this last year has changed our wiring. Our minds are wired differently now in terms of communicating. I think we're like 10 years down the road in terms of how the human nervous system has been rewired by the digital era and social media.
And it happened very suddenly because of the pandemic.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now as we are hopefully coming out of the pandemic, guarded optimism here, hopefully we'll be able to adjust to what is undoubtedly going to be a very different world. A very, very different world, because it all comes down to consciousness and communications, and our consciousness per our communications has evolved about 10 years in the last year and a half.
It's a beautiful song, both the music and the lyrics, and I can't think of a better time to play it than now. Now, this is radio, so you're not going to have the visual component. But if you want to, not now, because I just want you to concentrate on the music and the lyrics as spoken by Michael in this. It's about, I don't know, how long is it?
About 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. So I'm going to play that now, but for the future, after this show, if you want to, and I highly encourage everybody to go to the site iknowyouarereal.com, iknowyouarereal.com, and play it yourself and watch the video that you're going to hear connected to the audio I'm going to play right now. It's just absolutely beautiful. So let's go ahead and play it here. All right.
I know you're real, I know you're real, I understand that you're real.
We are drops in the same endless sea, branches on the tree of to be. We think, we know, and we feel. Beams of light from the same shining star, spinning between what's near and far. I believe you are real. My eyes, mind, heart, and soul know you're real. I am sure you are real. We are words in the same simple prayer. All of our spirits are there. We are thoughts in the eternal mind. Now it is time to be kind.
I know you're real, I know you're real. Treasure I shall not steal. I know you're real, I know you're real. I understand that you're real.
We are notes in the same melody, singing in nature's sweet harmony. All of our spirits are here. We are grains on the same golden beach. The light is not out of reach. I truly know you are real. The spark of life is in your eyes. I truly know you are real. We are drops in the same endless sea, branches on the tree. A new day will dawn if we just have the will. I believe in thou shalt not kill.
I know you're real, I know you're real. Treasure I shall not steal. I know you're real, I know you're real. I understand that you're real.
Every time I hear it, I like it more.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I find it, sometimes I think of it and I listen to it and I say, I can't believe I was involved in the creation of that song, because it's such an amalgamation of so many of the philosophies that have gone back to ancient times. It's real. It really is quite real. I'm very proud of it, and also I'm very grateful that that you're playing it on the station, because I think that it touches a number of nerves and a number of buttons that people have, and it's not political. You know, it's not confrontational, and also in terms of like the animal part, it doesn't even say the word animal in it. It could be God. It could be a relationship with a best friend, with a parent, with a child, you know, with siblings. It could be.
But I got to tell you,
the
the video, the shots that I see in this of animals, and I have to be guarded because people who know me know that I have these strange words for things. Instead of animal, I usually say aminal, and it's probably going to slip out again this time. But you know, I'm being serious, but it might slip out. IknowYouAreReal.com. I highly recommend that everybody who can go to that site on your smartphone or your computer and play the video so that you can hear that you can see how the pictures of the animals coincide with the music.
See what happens when you get into the habit of doing wordplay.
Yeah.
You sometimes become a victim of it.
So, animal welfare versus animal rights. I don't want you to think I'm making light of any of this thing, because I know it's going to, the way I usually say it is going to come out, but I'm apologizing in advance.
No, but
okay.
we know you're just fooling around, you know.
Earlier today, we were talking about animal rights and how PETA, for example, well, you said no. Animal rights are very different from animal welfare.
Absolutely different.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay?
Yeah, I don't think the PETA people would like this song because it's not an animal rights song, and I in no way want to be portrayed as or present myself that would show a hypocritical side. I am not a hypocrite. I hardly live up to the ideals that I would like to live by. And the animal rights movement, they don't think people should have pets. They don't think people should ever eat any kind of meat. They're very, very extreme. Animal welfare is more of the prevention of cruelty to animals if you can. That means, yes, we can have an agricultural industry. Yes, we can, understand that we're part of the eat and be eaten universe, that we are biological units, that we have canine teeth, that we need protein. I mean, there are all kinds of real factors in being human on this plane of existence, and you got to cut each other a little bit of slack. But if you do eat animals, eat them with respect. What do you think people pray before they eat? That comes back all the way back to the ancient times of having respect and acknowledging the contribution that animal made so that you could feed your family, so that you could stay alive. So have respect for animals, avoid cruelty, and even, on an industrial level, big ag, these corporate farms, the terrible cruelty that is inflicted upon animals in terms of processing them for the market. These are things that we really should turn our attention to, just if we have any decency in our hearts whatsoever. And that's the difference between animal welfare and animal rights. Animal rights is more political, it's more draconian, it's more in your face. Some of the things that they say are ultimately truths. I'm not saying that they're wrong. They're just not operating in a way that is realistic based upon the nature of humanity and where we're at in terms of our own evolution at this point. We're not fully evolved yet, and we have to cut ourselves slack, but we have to aim in that direction. Animal welfare aims in that direction. And so that's the difference between those two terms. And as you know, in a political world where everything is political, Michael, that's an important difference, wouldn't you say?
It is so refreshing to me, Michael, to be doing a program that is not political for a change. Mm-hmm. And I wish more of talk radio would adopt that, direction.
Or not as polarized political.
God.
I mean, everything is political in life, but to polarize it and to demonize and to turn legitimate points of view that are on a broader spectrum than the part of the spectrum you occupy in your little life is really important. To respect other points of view that are not necessarily wrong. They're just different based upon the perspective of the individual you're talking to. They have a different life. They're in different shoes. They have a different income. They have a different heritage. They have different feelings. They have different needs, and maybe they've suffered different abuses. And I'm not talking about the black-white thing and all that stuff that's out there. People suffer the slings and arrows of just being alive and being so vulnerable and so mortal on this plane of existence while we feel so deeply. And we have so many questions about our existence that are mysterious. We don't really know the answer. That kindness and understanding play such a role, and our political conversations could be so much more productive for our mutual benefit if we come to it with that awareness that I'm trying to describe right now.
More and more, Michael, I find myself, on my walks, listening to not the news and not talk radio. I mean, I shouldn't say this. I'm in the talk radio business, but I find myself listening to music that I enjoy and music that makes me happy. Not too many things make me happy these days, but music does. And though I had never heard that music, I'm sort of a guy who's stuck in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the oldies musical era. Mm-hmm. And there's enough of those songs out, some of which are, like one-hit wonders and so forth, that when I'm walking, I just lose myself, and I really salute what you're doing, because I wish I could do something like that. I've said to people, a lot in the last few years, friends around me, I say things like, sort of half joking but half serious, that I've wasted my life. And what I mean by that is that, music makes me so happy that why didn't I get into music like so many other people? And I'm learning more and more every day that people I've known for years and years have been playing music, unbeknownst to me. That I should have been doing.
Wow.
I mean, the last few years I started singing, as you know, and
I support that. I support your karaoke. I know a lot of people make fun of you, but they do that only because you're an important person, and when you reveal yourself and you are so vulnerable as to perform music on the radio and in person, the karaoke that you do, it's kind of fun to make fun. But you can be sure that everybody that makes fun of you and those that admire you and praise you, all of them think what you're doing is great. Some people just have trouble.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I do. Oh, I do. I
nice,
do.
but...
No, first of all, you're a very good singer. Secondly, you're a marvelous personality. Third, we've all wasted our lives. I mean, when you have that feeling like, oh my gosh, I've wasted most of my life, I think we all have.
In terms of doing things that make me happy. Now, I shouldn't. I don't know, for all these years that we've been in the talk radio business, that I can't say that hasn't made me happy. I can't say that, I don't feel good every time someone slaps me on the back and says, good job, what a great radio station. But I don't know, there's something about, I wouldn't have guessed that why not? I don't know why, but I wouldn't have guessed that you had an ambition to be in a band for all these years, and that you finally did something about it.
It's been one of my fantasies. It's one of my fantasies. One of my fantasies. You see, when I used to program music on the radio, I was very successful at it. I used to program stations. They always had high ratings. I was considered to have a golden ear. The only reason I went into talk radio is it's more challenging than music radio, and I wanted to grow as a broadcaster. And I half of my career was in the music realm, and the other half has been in the talk realm. But they're both inside my head and my heart. The idea of performing in a band, performing on stage, and being really talented, which I, of course, am not, is like a fantasy. And I think many people, the old air guitar thing, I think many people who are fans of music have fantasies when they listen to their records, their favorite records, or they see their favorite performers, and they make believe in their mind that they're up there on the stage actually playing the guitar, playing the drums, singing, and doing it. That's why lip syncing is popular. Dancing is a form of being able to be involved in music right there in your own home. Karaoke has now do that. People love those fantasies. And I used to, back in the 60s, as a kid, in my head, I had all kinds of fantasies that were attached to the music I was listening to, and it really was a precursor. And this is very interesting. It was a precursor to what actually became a reality in American Idol. Competition.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Where you are in a sport, where it is like a competitive program, a competitive league, only it's a battle of the bands. And it's you against someone else. And I had this whole fantasy where the judges all have electrodes on their brains and on their hearts and on their arms, and the pulse level, the amount of perspiration they have, the body temperature is measured while you're performing, and these numbers are flying up and down on this big screen. And as you're coming to, the finale and the crescendo and all those hooks that we love in our favorite songs, your numbers go up because the judges are being blown away. All this stuff went on in my head as a kid. So when I program music as a DJ, I always said to myself, I'm not just playing music, I'm playing feelings, I'm playing fantasies. What's the fantasy potential of this song? Where are the hooks? How does it build? Have you ever found yourself listening to an entire song just to hear one line, but you won't hear it out of context? You have to have it built right to that point, then you get chills when you hear it? Or am I out there alone on this?
You just described how I have begun to feel listening to the melody of that song that I just played, that you spoke. You know, I get a chill. I
Yes.
get a chill, and that happens sometimes. But amazingly, it happened during this. I mean, when I first learned of this, I listened to it. I said, "Wow, that's a professional sounding song, and great lyrics and so forth." But when I listened to it again and again and again this morning, it started growing on me. There are a few songs that get stuck in my head that I don't mind are stuck in my head. This is one of them. I think now maybe 6 months from now or 2 weeks from now, I'll mind if it's stuck in my head if I can't get it out. But I don't think so. I put this in the same category as the theme from The Rifleman.
All those songs were designed to create chills. Absolutely.
Oh my God, it did. And I just created a chill myself humming it.
But let me say something here, a thought that struck me as you were saying that. One of the reasons that you have particularly a lot of chills, having just played that song, is I find that playing the music for people, being a DJ, selecting your own records back in the golden era, when you are playing something for somebody, or the term that we used to use in the 60s, that the Beatles used it in Sgt. Pepper, I'd love to turn you on. Now, a lot of people think that's a drug reference, and in many cases it is. But to turn somebody on to something. Hey, have you heard that song? Hey, have you eaten in that restaurant? Hey, have you seen that movie? Have you read that book? Let me play a video for you. Let me play a song for you on the radio, and I want you to listen to this particular component. That, to me, is one of the most exciting ways to communicate with people. So when I'm playing a song, or when you were playing that song for the thousands, who knows, millions of people listening to this broadcast or listening to it on demand for years to come, it exponentially increases the excitement of being connected to that art, that you're turning somebody onto it. And that, to me, is just the total equation for happiness in terms of being a curator and being a presenter in the media.
Well, I've got to say that being part of talk radio gives me a thrill to share new experiences and fantasies of mine with the audience. Okay, I do get off on that for sure. And when I say I sometimes I think I've wasted my life, it's only with respect to not having taken up music and learned the keyboards and learned to strum the guitar. And I keep saying I'm going to do that before, you know, it's too late, before I move on. And so far I haven't. But I think I have to retire in order to do that.
Well, it's very hard to take time to do these, I call them electives in life, the things that we really would like to do just for their own sake, for our own sake, when we're involved in other endeavors that are, you know, closer to the ground, more down to earth, paying the mortgage, paying the rent, meeting the payroll, showing up and doing the show, showing up and clicking the time card. Whatever it is that we have to do, we're constantly in a struggle between having to do what we need to do to be a responsible human being, which in its own way is a reward, being a member of society and having respect as being a real person, a responsible adult, and living a life of expression, a life of creativity, a life of challenge that has nothing to do with, you know, living or dying or paying rent or being on the street or keeping up with the Joneses, but just fulfilling your dreams and expressing those thoughts. And that's a constant struggle. It's a constant struggle, but that's part of life. You know, I think wasting your life is not appreciating just being alive every moment, even pain, even disappointment.
But if you're stuck in a rut,
yes,
which I feel that I've been, and I feel that so much of the population of certainly the United States and probably the world has been in recent years, we're not really learning anything or experiencing anything new. I don't know. This is,
I understand how you feel. I tend to think that, to use an old cliche, every cloud has a silver lining. I don't think we're in as much of a rut as we think. I think we're going through a period of transition, and we're questioning our values. We're questioning what's important to us. We're questioning, why are we here? What is the real purpose of life?
All right. You're a guy who is more connected to talk radio than any human alive that I know of or am aware of. Okay? What do you think about the recent direction of talk radio? I know I'm really putting you on the spot here, but it's a question I've got to know the answer to from your perspective.
I have two minds about it, and I do believe it's possible to have mixed emotions and to hold two truths as being relevant at the same time. On one level, I love talk radio. I love the fact that it's down and dirty and controversial and flies in the face of censorship and people shutting down the right to speak and being a platform that people can be outrageous in their opinions on and be open to the public. So I still think that the spontaneity and the dynamism of talk radio is something that I love and that I'll fight for.
So do I, but aren't you sort of tired of it the last few years?
But, I do not believe that talk radio or radio lives up to its full potential. I believe it only goes down narrow paths. It goes after low-hanging fruit. It engages in the daily dance of affirmation. It tells people what it thinks they want to hear as opposed to maybe what they need to hear. It's afraid of negative feedback. It's afraid of the tune-out. Rather than take a chance for the tune-in, it'll go and do the same old to prevent a tune-out. It's playing defense as opposed to offense, and that troubles me. So on one level, I love it. On another level, I'm terribly frustrated by its self-imposed limitations and the thing that I really despise. Although we all do it. Understand, I'm not saying I am perfect. I know a lot of the faults of humanity because I see them in myself. I believe in clean up your own backyard. I hope I'm able to be more enlightened before I die. And the fact is, we do this daily dance of affirmation. We seek victory as opposed to truth. We actually... We adhere ourselves to the common lie that we think will be better for us in our life. And our tribesmen, the people that are on our side, we believe in our lie versus the other side's lie, but both sides lie through their teeth in order to have victory. That's the problem, and you really see it in the media today. And I would hope that we can get beyond that. But I don't want to shut anybody down. I don't want people to be banned or radio stations not to serve their communities, but just step back and realize that there's so much more that could enhance it and expand it and compromise.
That's what we as the station itself need to be mindful of and practice.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you have been a marvelous broadcaster in your community for over 30 years now, and this radio station, KSCO, is one of the great radio stations in America. Not that everything on it every minute of the day is great. Some of the worst shows and some of the worst broadcasts I've ever heard or been part of happen on your station.
And you're very honest, and you told me when you several years ago when you were a guest on, I think it was this program.
Oh yeah,
this is the worst show I've ever been on and ever even heard. So
yeah. But why would I say these two different things? Why would I say on one level some of the worst radio I've ever heard has been on KSCO, and it's one of the greatest stations? And the reason is because the station is run by an enlightened owner who's brave enough to let bad radio happen in the hope that good radio might emerge from that. You've got to take the chance to fail to do something great. If you play it safe all the time, particularly in the media, it's going to wind up being of no value to anybody.
I think Josh Stevens has something to say. Am I right, Josh?
I sure do. And Harrison, you'll be able to hear me, right?
Hear you.
Excellent. All right. So you mentioned your days in being a music jockey prior to gaining your own syndicated talk show platform. As a talk show host and up-and-coming music jockey myself, walk us through your biggest challenges in this profession and what advice you would have for someone such as myself.
Oh, bring to the table something of value. Don't emulate. Don't just be a poser. To be a great broadcaster, you have to have great experience and great information, great insights, great material. You have to build yourself as a source of valuable takeaways before you can help anybody. Learn, experience, constantly be absorbing information, angles, be original, read, look, listen, have empathy, bring that to the table. Don't worry so much about, well, am I saying the things that people want to hear? Am I fitting the format? All that. Because at best, you'll be remarkably mediocre. And we have a tremendous number of remarkably average, mediocre broadcasters today.
Mention some names. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, right. But that's my answer. Josh, what's your reaction to that, Josh?
I think that's a great set of tips that you offer, but one of my other questions would be with regards to music jockeying specifically, what were some of your biggest challenges in that? Was it management? Was it you're figuring out what format works for you, or what? Walk us through this.
Management has always been a problem because you're always dealing with management's point of view. And working with a staff, with your peers, is always a problem because if you step out, some of them are jealous of you. It's a challenge in a radio station, which is really a team sport where individuals get up to bat like baseball versus football. When you're up to bat or when the ball comes at you, you're alone out there. When you're on the air and the microphone is open, you're alone out there. But when you're part of a radio station, at least the way radio was in those days, radio is now becoming extremely corporate, and that bothers me. But when you're on a real radio station, such as KSCO, a real radio station with stationality and a culture, it's like a cathedral, you have to be mindful of the needs of management because they're, if you'll pardon the expression, their asses are on the line, and the feelings of your coworkers because they're there to fulfill their own dreams and their own feelings, not yours. So that's part of the challenge, is to fit into the combination of being a team player while still having the self-awareness and the confidence to be your own individual. That's the balance that has always been challenging.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the whole advent of corporate radio being a huge part of the problem that we see today with regards to having proper talent, programming, and all of it just being repetitive. Now, when you mention that, I bring the following quote from Saul Levine, the president of Mount Wilson Broadcasters, one of the last independent broadcasters in the nation, in Los Angeles. He mentions that he sees the real answer for radio's troubles is to restore the FCC limit of 1 AM and 1 FM station to a single entity in a market, bring back the talent that made local radio a huge success, and return the geniuses. What would you say in response to that?
I'd say he's right.
And what would you say?
He's absolutely right.
What would you say would be some additional rules?
I think that
Go ahead, Josh. I did push the button, so he missed a few words.
Okay, so what would you say also would help with regards to combating this challenge of corporate conglomerations taking over the business?
Meant in terms of its nuts and bolts, down to its cellular level. I think that radio is meant to be a local medium owned by mom and pop corporations, by people who live in the community. I think that radio has to be a little wacky. I think that radio has to have a certain amount of gut instinct, that everything cannot be researched, that everything cannot be done through corporate bureaucracy, that you have to have wild and crazy people involved in the programming, as it was back in those days. If you're doing music, you got to have people that are out there in the clubs and hanging with the kids and hanging with the musicians. Those types don't work well within corporate environments. You can't have guys in suits creating art. There's a difference between commerce and art. And old-time radio knew the difference. And there used to be conversations in the radio business that there's struggle between programming and sales. Well, there's no more struggle anymore. Sales won the war. Sales runs radio today. Programming does what sales tells it to. And I think we have to get back more to a balance between programming and sales. And the great stations were a compromise between those two departments. Today, sales determines almost everything in corporate radio, and that is a problem. But the biggest problem in the corporate world is the fear of taking a chance. You know, one man's gut becomes the next man's research, and there are not enough people programming radio from the gut, because the gut is that area of infinite mystery and infinite connection to back to the universe, where inspiration comes from. Inspiration doesn't come from focus groups and from board meetings. Inspiration comes from something that pops in somebody's head that they have the good fortune to be able to execute in the real world and have it connect to other people. That's the best I could answer you, Josh.
I appreciate that insight, Michael. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, he appreciates the insight, Michael. Thank you, because you didn't hear him say that. But let's go to a caller here. Our friend Amy from San Francisco, who is also on the China Uber Alles program. Amy, you're on the air with Michael Harrison.
Hi, Mr. Harrison.
Oh, Amy, Ms. Howe, how are you?
I'm fine. I really deeply touched by your song.
Thank you so much.
What a beautiful song.
Amy, before we go forward, you were born and raised in China. So much of the philosophy that's expressed in that song and its lyrics has its roots in Eastern philosophy and Eastern religion. I am sure you recognize that.
Yes, that's what I want to try to say. And how that's like I hear the whisper from the distant star. How often can you hear that? So this thoughts behind the song is really, really deep. So I very much touched.
Thank you so much.
My soul.
Oh, that's music to my ears.
We're talking about reality. Sure, we have to face reality, but reality is not really beautiful. Sometimes it's ugly, right? The whole our life is searching for the beauty. What is the beauty? Beauty is the truth. Truth is the real thing.
Yes.
So you sound really, really mean a lot to me. I think talking about the reality, of course, we had to face reality, but also we had to dream. Reality is like a naked tree shivering in the winter.
Wow.
Wind.
True. As a matter of fact, in the song, there's the line.
It needs to be closed with blossoms and leaves. So these are the dreams.
Yeah.
So you sound just beautiful. I will sing forever.
Thank you so much,
That's what I wanted
Amy.
to say.
And I just want to compliment you on the tremendous job that you and your co-broadcasters are doing on the weekly show China Uber Alles. And if anybody out there has not heard that show, it's on every Thursday between 2 and 4 p.m. Pacific time, and it streams across the nation. And it really is the only show of its kind that it's dedicated in the proposition that people should live under liberty, and it basically stands as a counterpoint to the propaganda that comes out of the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing on a constant level and tries to undermine American interests and human rights and human freedom interests around the world. So, Amy, you're a pioneer and a brave thought leader, part of what I consider to be a major milestone in broadcasting, China Uber Alles on KSCO. Thank you for the call, and thank you for the encouragement. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, thanks, Amy.
Thank you so much.
We're almost at the end of hour number one. I want Alan in Pacific Grove to hang on. We've got a 6-minute news break at the top of the hour. We've got Michael Harrison talking about things that we don't normally hear from Michael Harrison. And I'm excited for the second hour. Right?
He's cooling off by Tuesday, where we'll be seeing the lower 70s by then. Overnight, keeping it in the mid-40s. The next few nights, sunny skies all around. KSCO News Talk time, 11:06. Time now for the second hour of the Saturday special on KSCO. Your mic is not on, MZ. He's still silent. You got to press the on button. MZ.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to our fabulous guest. So I missed my cue. I missed my cue.
We're gonna have to hire somebody else.
Oh,
You blew your.
I'm getting
audition.
close. I'm getting close naturally to my retirement. Very close. I mean, just incredibly close. So yeah. So that'll probably happen anyhow.
You must never retire. You must work for years and years to come.
Josh Stevens, how much dead air was there?
Only a couple of seconds because I kept badgering you, and yeah, I.
Well,
I did my best.
How much were you badgering me?
I was like, I give it about 3 or 4 times where I was like, you got to press on, you got to press on. MZ. Knock, knock.
God dang.
Yeah.
And I've been in radio officially for 30 plus years.
It's okay.
It really is time to retire. It really is. Okay. Well, see.
Who would take the Saturday
Don't retire
special?
for at least another hour. Because I really don't want to do this by myself.
Well,
and,
you're
and,
alone.
and I mean, Josh is good. I could work with Josh, but I really hope that you last another hour.
We'll give it the old college
give it your best.
try.
Come on,
but
come
now
on. Pull it together.
I will do my best by playing the hour 2 jingle.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Oh, I'm reading a complimentary email, and so that's why I was late on that cue. See, I have an excuse for everything.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
I'm tempted to read this complimentary email because I get so few of them.
Yes, read it.
All right, this is from Ray Hughes. It says, MZ, he is right. I guess he means you. I am a singer myself and have many voices. What you do on the radio, many cannot because they do not have the guts. They are not confident about themselves enough to be comfortable. People love what you do. We love what you do. We enjoy what you do. And you're doing what no one in radio would attempt. It is events like this that makes KSCO what it is. And then there's an audio attachment to it. Should I sing it? Well, no, I don't know.
Sing it. What
Not
do you mean?
sing it, but I mean play it. I have to play it.
But you don't know. It might.
It might have profanity.
He might have set you up. No, save it for next week.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, save it for next week and promote it.
But on the other hand,
sell it to a local business.
On the other hand, you know me, Michael. That when the few times someone compliments me, I want them to be a co-host with me until the end of the program.
Yeah, you're a sucker for you're a sucker for having smoke blown up your.
That's true. And I totally admit it, you know.
But that's one of the reasons why I think you like having me around in your life. I don't do that to you. I mean, come on. You talk about guts.
I don't mind if you want to. Go ahead.
No, I tell you the truth. I told you I like your karaoke. I told you your radio station is a great treasure in this industry. But I also tell you when you do things I don't think are up to the standard of what you should be doing.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, do I not sometimes tell you, hey, you're on the wrong track?
Oh, it's terrible. I call it tough love, and you're very good at it. Thank you. Alan in Pacific Grove, thank you for waiting. And I think this is the Alan that I know, is it?
Yeah, hi, Michael.
Hi. I was in seventh grade with Alan many years ago.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah, and I was always envious of Alan because he was a musician back in seventh grade.
Oh,
you know, and he's still a musician to this day. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. So you are calling to say what?
You should know. Okay, so look, there's no age to learn an instrument. You can learn at any age. And it doesn't take that much practice, whether you're retired or not. I met a guy, Snooky Young, daughter of a famous tennis surfer. She said, "Oh, you ought to go meet my dad." He was the trumpet player with Henry Mancini when they did da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I went and sat in his living room and talked to him. I asked, "How do you get so good compared to the rest of it?" He said, "Every time I pick up my instrument, even if it's only for 3 minutes, I make sure I can do something new, different, or better."
It's great.
But you have to know how to play it at least.
Well. Here's. Can I step in?
Yeah. Wait. And by the way, Alan, are you on a headset or something? Because you sound awfully muddy, and I know you're not a muddy person. I know you're a clean person.
I'm just.
It's worse. It's worse.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
Alan's connection is not worthy of this broadcast, but Alan is. So we got his point. Why don't we get back to people who are on
fine.
real
Thank you.
microphones?
Appreciate it. So
now, what Alan said about instrumentation. One of the things that has changed my life in terms of my desire to write music has been the internet age. And there's this little app that I found on my smartphone called GarageBand. And everybody, can get it or has it. It's certainly not the most sophisticated digital application for being able to play many, many instruments. I mean, you buy a Yamaha, you buy a keyboard, and you can have drums, you can have strings, you can have banjos, you can do anything. We're at a point now where the computer can play the instrument for you. It can create the sound. You can create the melody. You can create the arrangements. You can mix the tracks. You could make the music. But the years of practice it takes to know how to play a piano or to play a guitar or a banjo or a flute or a saxophone, it takes care of all of that for you. And as a result, it makes it easier to get to the pure art form of melody and composition and laying things out. And that's what's changed. That changed my life. In terms of just, I've written about maybe 100 songs in the last 5 years.
Seriously? That's amazing.
Yeah. But they're not terribly good. But they are songs. They're real songs, which I could never have done prior to that. It's like here, I have it in my hand right now. Hang on one second. Let me just press this button. I'm just holding it right to the microphone. This is a brass ensemble. That's out of my telephone.
I do that every once in a while. Too,
so that's it. That's. Could you imagine doing that 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
No, impossible. But and in fact, you've told me that before, and now that I've been told it again, it's been reinforced in my peanut-sized one-cylinder brains.
Oh, don't be so self-deprecating. You're a genius. You're a genius. You're not.
Keep talking.
No, but you are. You are. Hey, listen. Let me tell you something from a broadcasting standpoint. What you were saying earlier during the first hour of the Saturday special.
What?
When you were saying that you sometimes feel that you've wasted your life, and you started. It started to sound like an intimate conversation between two friends that other people are eavesdropping on. Do you realize that that's the highest form of talk radio? That you can just let your guard down like that and talk about who you are and how you feel.
Well, that's what KSCO is all about. We're real. We're real.
That's the best. Then all you have to do, if you're capable of being real in front of a microphone, then all you have to worry about is back to what I said to Josh: be a good person, be somebody whose reality is worth sharing. But just the very act of sharing it is halfway there. Of course, if you're a total schmo, it'll wear out real thin. People say, hey, I'd rather you put on an act than be the real schmo you are. But if you have substance in your heart and you have experience and you have feelings and you can talk about it, people love that because that's communication for its own sake. And we need, this is another thing about being human, and this is also back to the relationship between humans and animals that is the focal point of the song. We have a tremendous need. It's built into our DNA to be connected to each other. You know, they say in prison, the worst thing you can do to a prisoner to punish them is put them in solitary confinement. They go mad. Human beings are funny. And this goes back to our left-right politics as well, Michael. That on one level, we're wired to be a pack animal. We're wired to be social animals. Our own self-identity, our self-worth is our pecking order within the bigger picture of humanity. We need other people. We need to be connected to family, to groups, to tribes, to organizations, to friendships, to romance. It's just a drive. On the other hand, and it goes back to the yin and yang thing, on the other hand, we are fiercely independent. We live our lives isolated within our own consciousness. The only person we really know exists is ourself. We have to constantly fight the impulse to be selfish and to be self-centered, narcissistic, and completely isolated from other people. And this is a battle. We're constantly struggling between the needs of our social side and the collective, socialism versus freedom and independence and rugged individualism. And we can't make it with either. If we're totally social creatures, we become like the Borg in Star Trek. We become like bees in a hive. We lose our sense of self and identity. On the other level, if we're completely self-centered, completely independent, we break down as a society, we become selfish, and we don't move forward in a way that benefits us all. This is the nature of left-right politics. This is the nature, the dichotomy of the human condition, and it touches on everything we do.
All right, before I forget, I want to really urge people who are listening to see this wonderful video that you heard the audio track of earlier last hour. Michael Harrison speaking the spoken version of I Know You're Real. And if you go online to the website iknowyouarereal.com, iknowyouarereal.com, and just play it. It's only 3 minutes, three minutes, a few seconds. And it's an amazing video, and I think you're going to be swelling with pride when you watch that video, and you're going to get chills, because it's great enough just to hear it, just the way when we played it, but it's way better yet when you see the visuals that are attached to it. Okay, well, let's see.
Are we running out of things to talk about?
No, not at all. Not at all. We can go on forever, but there should.
What's the matter?
Well,
I sense trouble.
I don't know if it's trouble. Billy Sunshine has something to ask, I think. Is that right, Billy?
Sure.
That's right.
Hey, Billy Sunshine, how you been?
I've been fine. How about you?
Good.
Good. Yeah, by the way, I love that thing, and I want to talk about radio, but first I just want to say this, and that is, my religion is this planet and the life on it. We have been very poor stewards. We are losing animals to extinction every day. We need to do a better job. That's that. So you guys are talking about radio and what a wonderful thing it is, and I agree. I love radio. How do we keep radio alive? It's in trouble. Radio's disappearing. It's a bunch of old folks who can't get up and change the channel.
I think you should avoid that as part of your discussion.
Okay.
I disagree.
Because
Sure.
old folks to me should be honored.
As
opposed
absolutely.
to,
They're very wise.
but Billy, in the conversation, one of the raps against radio is the audience is getting old and they're dying. Well, until they're dead, they're human beings, and
That's right.
if anything, those of us in radio should honor the older folks who know how to use radio. The
Of
reason,
course, but the point I'm trying to get to
but I have to
is-
say that. I have to say that. That's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. But I want radio in Santa Cruz to continue. I want this station to continue. And MZ is tired. He wants to, you know, spend more time doing other things, paying attention to his friend Amy and music and things like that. And for those of us who might want to continue the radio station, how do we do that?
Well, you keep MZ interested and don't let him retire.
Well, we keep him on the Saturday special for sure. I'm not letting him off of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what power you have over what MC does.
You'd be surprised.
I'm never surprised by anything. But in this case, you also might be surprised. But that being said, look, nothing is forever. The key to keeping radio is do good radio and be a good radio listener. If you like a radio station, folks, support it. Support it because it's not there. It's not a given. It's not being provided by the government. It's not provided by Mount Rushmore. It's a very fragile entity that is in real need of your support. How do you support it? You support it by listening to it and appreciating it. You support it by telling your friends about things that you like about it and get them to do that. And you support it by advertising on it. If you're a business owner, if you are in the community, be involved, support it, because people that listen to radio are among the most active and respondent people in the public. And that's what you do.
That's the point I want. It's this kind of radio that I want to continue. Podcasting is wonderful. I love listening to podcasts, but it's not two-way. And two-way radio, giving people a chance to voice their opinion and their heart, is valuable. And that's what I don't want to lose.
Yeah. Well, I personally think that talk radio is going to be around longer than any of us. I'm optimistic about the future of it. What I'm worried about right now is this transitional period in media, and that the institution of the local radio station is in doubt. Because when radio becomes just when audio entertainment or audio communication becomes just another element on some big utilitarian platform, it doesn't have the same feel as it does coming from a local platform that just oozes the nature of the art form, the
radio
nature
helps
of
make
radio.
Community.
Yes.
Radio makes community.
Yes. Yes. Radio helps make community, and I have to say our cousin medium, local newspapers, also help make community. And they're in more peril than radio. I mean, it really, look, we're going through a transition. When we get to the other side, there'll be new culture. Changes in technology create changes in sociology. Yesterday's technology becomes tomorrow's art. Nothing is written in stone as to what is true art or what is true human nature. What is it to be human? That's changed over the years, and it changes from culture to culture. We have to be, again, dichotomy. We have to be willing to grow, willing to change, and yet we want so much to hang on to those things that we consider to be our heritage, our religion, our nationality, our identity. And that's difficult. It's difficult to hang on to the things that make you your definition of human versus the other aspect of being human, which is to evolve. So I've known you.
We have to become civilized, and we have to be in a society, but that requires us to give up a little individuality.
That's what I was saying before. Nobody is totally free. Come on. You can be free. Go live in the jungle. You'll be free, and you'll be eaten by a lion in about a week or a day. We're not free. We're obligated to each other. We're obligated to our friends, our families, our jobs, our society.
We are all in it together.
We have to be.
Radio reminds us.
We have to be. Otherwise, we will not, divided we fall, united we stand. Yeah. So,
we're divided now, and that's
we're too divided.
By the way, has helped make that divide, and that's a pity.
What did you say that's helped make the divide? I missed that, Billy.
He says radio helped make it.
Radio.
Oh, okay.
The great Rush Limbaugh, the greatest broadcaster we know.
This is where we don't agree. I think that radio is just a tool. It's like radio's a tool, and so radio is not. It's people that bring us together,
Absolutely.
and it's people that bring us apart. And all radio is a platform in which that plays out.
I agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've always found you in the occasional times I've had the pleasure of talking with you over the years, Billy. I've always found you to be a reasonable person.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I only see it, MZ. I see it from my position.
MZ and I have a very special relationship.
MZ has a special relationship with the universe, and that's why he has an obligation to humanity and to God to continue to run this radio station and stop talking about retirement.
No, I'm retiring.
Nonsense.
No, you
gotta
mustn't.
retire, but you got to
Retire. I want to
make.
I want to make people understand that I am going to retire, and it's going to be
Right.
very, very soon. That does not mean that if I get any compliments at all, I'll continue the Saturday special because I run on compliment power.
Well, when
But
I take
I
over the
want
station,
no more
keeping you.
responsibility.
That's right.
Okay,
The
and
only
that
thing I'm gonna ask you to
and
do
there is an
the
opportunity
Saturday
here.
special.
We are working on a transfer of power that might work and it might not. We'll see. But a transfer
have
of
to make it
power
work.
and obligation. But I will not be have the obligation of this station much longer. I would
Okay, well,
say it's as simple as that. Michael, I know you say it's bad, but it's the truth. It is the truth.
I appreciate the truth, and I applaud you for saying it, but don't paint yourself into a corner. If it happens, it happens, but don't overblow it, because then you'll be forced to make it happen if you change your mind, and leave yourself a little wiggle room on that, because you are a very emotional person.
Very emotional.
And sometimes you don't feel the same way a week later. I've only known you for 30 years. So I'm simply, being that voice on the other side of your shoulder saying, hey, just cool it for a while and see what happens. Now, Billy, I have a final question for you before you depart from the program.
No, not from the world.
No, not from the world. Oh, gosh, no. Have you seen the video yet?
No, I have not. No.
I have an assignment for you. I want you to go to your computer, and I want you to watch the video.
I know you are real.com.
Yeah, www.iknowyouareal.com.
IKNOWYOUAREAL. All the words except put together.
Yeah, iknowyouareal.com. I want you to watch it and then let us know what you think. I'd love to have your opinion as a professional media observer and a man of culture and wisdom. I'd like to know. But if you don't like it, don't say anything.
I'll do what MZ always does. I'll denigrate myself, so you have to compliment me.
He's got your number, MC. You just gave me an idea, Billy. From now on, when he says that, go, yeah, you're right. Get the hell off the air already. Will you please retire and make the way for young blood? But no, please do that. I want you to. iknowyouarereal.com. Since we're talking shop, and I think talk radio listeners love hearing a little bit about shop.
They do.
One of the biggest challenges that radio has in being a medium for direct response. It's called direct response broadcasting, where you try to get the listener to do something, usually with commercials and things of that nature, is they're driving or they're listening while doing other things, and they don't have the facility to write down the phone number or to write down the website. If we were doing this on a online situation, you'd click it. It's so much easier. Click this. Or if it's on television, they flash it on the screen, or they'd play the video. But to get somebody to play a video on YouTube who's listening to an audio presentation, that's why we have been so didactic about iknowyouarereal.com. That's why, folks, we've been so, vigilant in saying that, because it's hard to get people to do that. And I want to say that our numbers, as we've been having this broadcast, are of testimony to the activity of the KSCO listeners. They've been flying up. We've been doing over 1,000 in the last few days. Since this thing has caught fire, over 1,000 people a day across the country have been watching that video, and it's getting faster and faster. To have people watching a video and sharing it about cosmic consciousness and the human relationship with animals, that's a hell of an accomplishment. So go do it. iknowyouarereal.com, Billy, and then let us know what you think.
Your pride is showing, and it's beautiful.
Very proud. I'm very proud.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Thank you.
It's great to talk to you, Michael.
All right.
Take care, Billy.
Yeah, thank you, Billy.
Take care,
Sunshine. Yeah, you too. Now, here comes our good friend Richard N. Watsonville, who wants to talk about Fairness Doctrine Radio. Hi,
Okay.
Richard.
Thanks for taking my call. And,
You're welcome.
I think if we ran this station like we had the fairness doctrine, we might be doing better. If we actually had a Republican on doing a talk against a Democrat, you might actually get money from both sides.
You know what, Richard? It never worked in the 90s when it was pretty easy, when it was relatively easy to do that. It's almost
they got rid of it.
No, in 1987, it was before I became the owner of KSCO. That happened in 1991.
That's right, but they had rules.
And we've always run KSCO as if the fairness doc. Yes, we have. Absolutely.
No, we don't have a religious show on that's required. We just don't have a religious show that's on anymore, do we?
Michael, help me out here. I don't think there was anything about religion.
I don't. Used to be you had your choice of which religion you wanted to play on your station, but they paid for it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
Richard, thank you. Appreciate it.
This is a trip down a rabbit hole that we will never emerge from.
Yeah, I thought it would be an interesting topic.
Let me get it back on track if I could.
Well, Josh Stevens wants to get it back on track here. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay, so I, for one, would have to disagree with the prior caller, Billy Sunshine, about radio being a dying platform, but I'm also partially conflicted because one example I can cite is Morello Media owned KLOS, a rock station based in Los Angeles, launched a new talk station down there, and they hit it on the HD2 band of 95.5 down there. So with that in mind, it seems like HD radio could also be a saving grace. So that's my first question. Michael, what are your thoughts on HD radio?
I think any platform that gives a radio station the opportunity to do more diverse programming and make the radio station a brand as opposed to a one-dimensional linear platform. In other words, Sirius XM satellite radio is really like 100 channels, and each one of them is a station unto itself. Well, radio stations can be like their own Sirius XM satellite radios. There's no reason why the only place that you broadcast is on your, 1080 on the dial or whatever your FM frequency is. That could be the mothership, and then the HD channels could be a whole different kind of programming under the same brand, like Sirius does. And then you can go even beyond the HD channel. Everybody has online capability today, and if they don't, they eventually will or should. And you could have KSCO could be the center of a hub of 25 channels that have every kind of politics and every kind of lifestyle, every kind of religion, and every type of vocation. You can have health shows, you can have gardening shows, you can have all that. The one thing that you need to do, though, to pull that all off is a certain amount of capital and investment money, because it costs money to put on that programming. And the biggest thing standing in the way of radio today fulfilling its potential in terms of all of these different channels is that radio is facing a financial struggle in 2021 that stands in the way of it being able to do everything that it is theoretically capable of.
And finally, with regards to one of the biggest brand rebrandings that have come
wait
up
a
this
second.
year.
Start again, Josh. I didn't have the button pushed.
Okay, and finally, one of the biggest rebrands that occurred this year was Entercom-owned Radio.com becoming Odyssey. The first thing that came to mind when that announcement was made to me was radio is getting a back seat and is being offered as an amenity. So what are your thoughts on said rebranding, and would you feel that's a sign that radio could be seeing a whole change of direction? And I think that'll do it for my shop talk.
I think that any radio company that is hiding its radio-ness is missing out on opportunity. I think that there's a big difference between radio and audio. And I'm not knocking Entercom's move to Odyssey, although it is it's a bit of an awkward word. They're counting on it becoming, a word that people are used to. And we'll see. Time will tell. But there's something magical about radio. And the reason we keep our terms around after the technology changes, like we still talk about football coaches watching film. They're not watching film, they're watching video. Play that record. And when we don't even have CDs anymore, there's no records, or I mean, they exist, but it's not that. We use terminology because the terminology indicates a certain art form that was put together in the utilitarian platform of audio. And radio is an art form. It indicates a combination of news and entertainment. That's basically what it is. And radio has always been grassroots. It always reflected the lexicon, the feelings of the street, of the schoolyard, of the hippest elements in society. Radio has to be hip. And so I think it's a big mistake throwing away the word and the term radio. But that which we have as radio is undoubtedly going to change because the appliances are changing, the technology changes. Look, we went from AM to FM. Now we think of FM as radio. When I was first in radio and I was on an FM station, my friends and family would say, when are you going to get a job on a real station? FM wasn't real. I said, well, it is a real station. They said, well, when I can hear it in the car, it'll be a real station. And then they came out with these translators, and then all of a sudden cars had AM and FM radios. So, what is radio? Radio is something that you think of as magic. What's a movie? What's going to happen to the silver screen when there are no more movie theaters anymore and everybody's watching movies on their home theater systems? We're transitioning into that today. What's going to happen to newspapers when they're not newspapers anymore? Well, can they translate the magic of, hey, you're on the front page of the newspaper, to a website or to an app? If you can translate the magic of a newspaper, or if you can translate the magic of the silver screen to the new media, then you have something of value from the past. Otherwise, you have to reinvent the whole damn thing, and sometimes it'll never be the same. Sorry for getting so esoteric on you there, but these are complicated media theory questions that you're posing, Josh.
Absolutely. And I really do appreciate that insight. Now, you mentioned FM at that time being not a real radio station. I guess people could argue that with HD because the adoption has been so low for getting HD radios to people. I mean, I only have a handheld myself, and it's hard to find it in cars, and it should be made more standard, but we're stuck with this ubiquity standard, and the rest of the world uses some other form of HD broadcasting.
That's real inside shop, and the fact of the matter is yes, and HD would be a lot further evolved in terms of public awareness and thus public usage if the radio industry promoted it. And the way to promote it is, one, make it good. Two, advertise it across all these platforms. And three, lobby in every way every shape and form you can to get people to have the appliances to be able to do it. You can't buy a radio today in stores. They're hard to find. The National Association of Broadcasters should be out there encouraging people to have radios. Now, a lot of people think that their smartphone is a radio, and I guess in some ways it is. If that's the case, we got to get the rating services to accurately reflect listenership online. But those are apples and oranges numbers. And again, I'm going to back off a little. I don't want to get too esoteric because we'll lose our audience.
God forbid. We don't want to do that.
Well, we don't. We want to keep our audience, but no. We don't want to. We also don't want to deny them,
Michael,
the insight that we're giving them. Let
me change the direction a little bit, okay? There has been a major there's been a major change in the talk radio industry with the demise of Rush Limbaugh. Okay, and do you know anything? Do you have any data at hand about how many Rush stations have switched to local?
No, I would say a segment of them, and that's anecdotal. I know. I cannot speak with detailed authority about how many stations have dropped the current version of the Rush Limbaugh tribute show, which is still at that time from its company, to go either local or to take on another syndicated show. There are three schools out there. There are those that are keeping the show that's currently on, which is not Rush Limbaugh, but here's a term, tapes of Rush Limbaugh that are really digital files, and being put together by curators. Then there are stations that are taking other talk show hosts from other syndicators that are available at that time. And then there are stations like KSCO that have a local host doing the show. The jury is out as to how it's going to go, but I would say it's about, this is off the top of my head, I'm not sure if I'm correct. I'd say it's about 30%. It's like one third, those three categories at this point.
Well, our next caller, I think, is going to address that subject. So let's put Keith in Watsonville on. Go ahead, Keith. You're on with Michael Harrison and
Hi,
NC.
this is Keith.
Hi.
Yeah, but I think Charlie's show has been harmed, and he's really struggling at that 9 o'clock slot.
Really?
I might remind you.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I might remind you that Rush Limbaugh broadcast in the prime slot, which was 12 to 3, and not 9 to 12. Out here in California, we just think that it's morning radio, but he's afternoon radio. I think Charlie was in the groove for 2 hours at his spot, 12 to 2. And I think at 9, there's all kinds of technical problems. He had a caller. I was listening on the podcast. He can't lower the. He can't lower the volume.
Let's not get into that. Your message is that you don't think Charlie belongs at 9 to noon, right?
I think not necessarily that. I think he had a great show, strong show at 12, and now it's a struggling show with all kinds of problems at 9. I think you're hurting him.
Okay.
I think
Alrighty.
He'd be better rescuing him, putting him back at 12. I guess that's my take.
In-station versus remote is what he's saying.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. That was in-station versus remote. Okay. Well, we're going to work on the remote and getting the remote.
One thing has nothing to do with another.
Exactly.
The technical aspect really has nothing to do with it. It is interesting that the Rush Limbaugh show on the West Coast was 9 to 12. Then, of course, in Mountain Time, 11 to 1. Then Central Time.
11 to 2, I think.
11 to 2, rather. Right. Well, whatever, 1 hour each time zone.
Sure.
Sometimes I become time zone challenged. But I remember when I lived 15 years in California, and I've always been involved in national business with trade publications and national shows. In California, when you're working nationally, it's very difficult because you get up in the morning and already the East Coast has been several hours into a workday. And the psychology of 9 o'clock in the morning in California versus noon in New York, it's a tremendous difference. And I find the handicap is with the Pacific side. It's more difficult dealing nationally when you are behind the rest of the country. But hey, we're a big country, and that's that's the way it is.
Yeah. Well, so anyhow, let's take another caller here. Dan in Milpitas about radio and people in prison. Is that what I understand? Dan?
Yeah, this is Dan. I'd like to just make a quick comment, and I'll take it off the air. First of all, the more you distort a radio, there's actually people in prison that call from prison that are being allowed to talk on the radio, like Mumia, which was he was locked up in New Jersey. He was allowed to speak on a 20-minute phone call, because that's what they give you, 20 minutes, and they allow you to speak, and it gets onto the radio station, and a lot of prisoners are able to turn into AM radio. The other thing I'd like to make, it's going to be like how raves used to be. There was no internet. When you used to go to a rave party, it used to be flyers, and there'd be directions from going to like 3 or 4 different locations to pick up paper directions. So you can't mess with the old school, because the old school is always going to outlast everything, because low tech is basically high tech. Bottom line, and then I'll take it off the air, you're going to kill the hero. Thank you.
Do you understand the last comment, Michael? I don't.
I think
I can't claim to fully understand what was in his head.
Josh Stevens has something to say.
I think what he was trying to say is that with regards to radio being an old school platform, it will still always be around because it's tried and true. And perhaps in order to make it last, we need to get back to our roots in terms of marketing, outreach, and advocacy. Like, for example, when he mentions the underground rave comparison, he's referring to the fact that these people used word of mouth, flyers, the baseline level of marketing. I mean, this is exactly what Levi Strauss did, for example, to sell his jeans. Word of mouth. That's key.
Yeah. Well, word of mouth translates into social media, and social media amplifies it both in terms of numbers and speed. So
it's talk radio on mega steroids.
The key is understanding how we must live with our brains rewired. With this amplification and this acceleration. We have acceleration of speed, amplification of sound, of it's in your face. And we're never going to leave that unless we have some type of a natural disaster or blow ourselves to oblivion. This is the way it's going to be, folks. And the way it is right now is just a taste of where it's going. We have got to get used to the fact that with the new technology, we have a loss of privacy. This is the most important thing. Privacy, which is one of the things freedom is built upon. Freedom is built upon privacy, and we are losing our privacy due to the technology. As a matter of fact, we have voices in our heads, and if I may get really a little bit out there at this moment, here's a provocative thought. We are becoming a telepathic species. We are technologically enhanced telepathic. It's as if we can read each other's minds. That's how fast we are in connection with each other, and how many conversations we could be having within an hour, within 5 minutes, instantaneously. This is causing a lot of anxiety. This is changing our nervous systems on a level that's changing us as a species. And it's like we're telepathic. We compared to the way it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, we all have our little crystal balls, and those are the smartphones, and we know everything going on everywhere with everybody we know.
Yeah, I even can find out instantly if someone is alive or dead. By the way, one of our listeners, George, I believe, has pointed out something that I forgot to mention last Saturday special and almost forgot today. Johnny Crawford, who played Mark McCain on The Rifleman, was one of my favorite TV series of all time, passed a week ago last Thursday. And Johnny has been a guest on the Saturday special at least twice, I think, and on Charlie Friedman's show. Really, really nice man, and he had been suffering from Alzheimer's for the last couple of years. And yeah, very, very sad, and I feel bad that I didn't mention that, because he was just a prince of a human being.
How old was he?
75.
75. So he was. I was a kid. He was older than me when I used to watch The Rifleman.
Yeah.
And he was like the ultimate kid. Yeah. He played that part.
But a sensitive kid.
Yeah.
Didn't look anything like his TV father, Chuck Connors. But what an amazing actor he was. And I met him once. I talked to him on the phone a bunch of times, including live on the air here on KSCO, and played his seat. He was an amazing musician with a band that played 1930s music, and put out a CD called "Sweeping the Clouds Away," and it was just wonderful. But one day I was driving from Southern California, where I had gone to a convention back home, and I knew I was going to be passing where Johnny lived, and I called just on the off chance that the timing might be right for us to get together, and we did. He and his wife and I had a wonderful brunch, one Sunday, and it was just delightful. Just a really, really nice guy. Very sad to hear about that, but
it's always interesting meeting and knowing. And one of the benefits that I've had, being such a media freak and a pop culture student, having a career in the media, is I got to meet a lot of people that I grew up watching on television when I was a kid, and like Beaver Cleaver, and a lot of the people that played the kids on those those sitcoms.
Sure.
That and it really is fun getting to know them. I had a friendship back in L.A. with a fellow named Rodimus Parra. Rodimus Parra was already a grown-up, and he had been in acting when he was a kid and had been out of it for years. And this is 30-some-odd years ago, so he's got to be in his 70s as well. And who was Rodimus Parra? Rodimus Parra was the kid who played the part of Grasshopper on Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah, the bald-headed guy.
Right, the shaved head. And, here he's a grown man. He had long hair. He was in some other business. And he was this great guy. He used to come on my show on KMET in Los Angeles at least once a month. And I had this wonderful relationship with him. And the only thing, his claim to fame was that he was Grasshopper, which is an iconic role. I mean, I bet you everybody went, oh, yeah, we remember Grasshopper.
Absolutely,
and that was, and Jerry Mathers and I became very, very good friends. And I mean, that was my generation. I grew up watching Jerry and, his brother and that friend and the mother and the father and that whole Leave It to Beaver, iconic. And now he's grown up. He lived very near me in L.A. He was selling real estate, and I got him back into the business. I said, you got to be on the radio. We got to get, and I got him a talk show at a station in Orange County, and then he wound up making a little bit of a comeback. He wasn't that glib a guy.
Yeah.
So, but I would go out to lunch with him, and I'm sitting, and I'd say to myself, I'm having lunch with the Beaver. I can't believe. I mean, you go through this whole head trip.
Right.
Not that I'm some type of a celebrity worshiper. I'm not. But on the other level, there are certain iconic pop cultural, references. And I just remember once I was having Chinese lunch on Ventura Boulevard with Jerry Mathers, and it occurred to me, I'm looking at this face looking at me. And it's like, am I in a TV show? Am I in Pleasantville? and it's kind of cool to meet these people. So when you talk about Johnny Crawford, that was a very big deal. Another kid that I used to watch on Saturday morning, I can't remember his name, was the kid who owned that black horse, Fury.
Fury, yeah. Joey was the name on the TV show, but it was Bobby Diamond was the name of the actor. Yeah,
and the show would start Fury, Fury. Saturday morning TV, But I used to watch Paul Winchell and Jerry Mahoney. Do you remember that?
Of course.
I wound up back in my LA days producing a comeback special of Paul Winchell and Jerry Mahoney. Winchell was already in his 60s, and we got all of his dummies, and we dressed them up as modern figures and put on a show at a nightclub and video recorded it. And we made a 1-hour special back in the early days of cable TV. So I was working with this old guy because I was in my late 20s, early 30s at that point, and so somebody in their 60s seemed old.
Sure.
And this was a guy I watched on TV. I guess the point I'm making is when you know somebody that was famous when you were a kid, you treat them with a whole different level of respect and awe than you do with somebody who you meet now who's famous, but you didn't know them as a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
it's great. I think you've had a lot more of those types of experiences than I have, but I know exactly what you're saying. Marcia in Los Gatos. Marcia, you're on the air on KSCO with Michael Harrison and MZ.
Yes, thank you, Saturday special. Hooray! We are so glad we still have it. What I want to know is, remember the fear that struck us all when it was going to be broadband over electrical?
No.
And we thought, oh no, how are we going to get emergency radios to, it'll be static everywhere.
Oh, okay.
That's what I worry about, because I have 20 radios. Sometimes they're all going at once, and sometimes we lose transmission. What causes a station to lose transmission?
Well,
like last night or the night before, John Batchelor's program on KGO went blank for 2.5 to 3 hours.
Oh, well, there are all kinds of things. It's probably internet related, I would think. because more and more of everything, even if you have a landline on not too many people have land phone lines these days, but even the ones that do, they go down all the time because they're all dependent on voice over internet protocol, VoIP.
I'll tell you, she's saying one thing that is a really serious issue, and that is the whole grid is very fragile. And don't think that the internet is the bastion of freedom. The internet, look what they do in China. They could just turn the internet off in a second. And when they do that, some of these old-time AM and FM radios will be very, very valuable, and because people will set up transmitters, and we may have to go back to that the same way we go to candles and hurricane lamps when the electric goes out and the bulbs don't do us any good.
PG&E.
I often say to people, though, that that's not the reason to keep radio around. I don't see radio as the sterno of media. Do you remember sterno?
I don't use it every day, but boy, do I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's canned heat.
Canned heat. But we're very, very dependent upon a very fragile system. The internet is very, very fragile, and it could go down as it has very easily, and the entire grid could go down.
Okay, here's the deal, Michael. We found this out the hard way about 10 years ago. They had a fiber cut in San Jose, which is 30 miles over the highway that you and I traveled, and it's very memorable for you. And someone cut the fiber. It was some malicious thing, and it killed all the phone service, all the trunk phone lines, so that our phone lines were dead. And the only thing that we could, all our on-air phone system would be if someone called us from someone nearby, someplace nearby that happened to be on the same central office. If they tried to call us from some other central office, either locally or long distance or whatever, they just get a fast busy. And when that happened, I said, oh my God, we are not going to be able in the future to be the lifeline that we have been in the past.
Yeah.
Because everything, even that far back, it was got to be 10 or 12 years ago, depended on voice over internet protocol phone lines.
Right.
So if you're a station like KSCO and you have a disaster, don't count on having the phone lines working, but we will, the station hopefully will be broadcasting so that people can come to the station. If they can't get through on a live phone line, they can at least come to the radio station, like a lot of the law enforcement and public authorities were able to do that time. But it's really scary. And when you brought that up, it just makes... And I want to thank Marcia and Los Gatos for bringing that up, too.
It's important stuff. It's very important.
Yeah.
So, hey, look at this. The clock is ticking toward noon.
Oh, my God. See, you're the real pro. It probably would have caught us.
Only because I want to tell everybody where to go to see the video one more time.
Yes.
Go
right ahead.
And I very seldom... shamelessly plug anything like this, but this is really important to me, and I think you'll get the benefit of it. Go to iknowyouarereal.com and check out our 3.5-minute video that we created with a lot of thought and a lot of love. iknowyouarereal.com. Mean a lot to me and to a lot of people, and pass it on to your friends if they have sensitivity toward other life forms than themselves.
It's a wonderful video. It just makes you, every time you watch it, every time I watch it, I feel better and better. Michael, always great to be on with you. You're a special friend, and you're a great...
Thank you.
Thank God for the talk radio industry. And that's it, gang. See you next week.
That's all.
You are listening to KSCO.